guys, it's me, Ashley. Welcome to another episode of The Productive Mom. So today we're talking about being smarter with your money in 5 simple steps. So if you need help with your money, stay tuned. One look, and I breathe. Step 1, you need a budget. So I highly recommend a digital budget because it's going to count your money for you. It's going to tally up everything. It's going to digitize everything. And that way you don't have to worry about the numbers not evening out, all of that good stuff. So I have a spreadsheet that I use. If you would like this spreadsheet, the link is in the description below. But in that spreadsheet, I have all of my bills listed and then all of my debt underneath. And in addition to that, it also will tally my envelopes, which we'll talk about in a second. When you set up your budget, you should set up a zero-based budget. That's my recommendation. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan, so you'll hear a lot of Dave Ramsey-ish stuff. So with that being said, when you set up your budget at the end, the number at the end should say 0. You should have literally allocated, or you should have set it up so that all of your money is allocated somewhere. Because if you leave money in there, you are not making the best use of that money because you're going to spend it probably on something unnecessary like eating out, because that's what I love to do. So I set my budgets up to be at 0. And if they're not, I use anything left over right now to pay off debt. So I'm working to pay off over $19,000 in mostly medical debt. But there's some credit cards as well. Because, again, this is the productive mom. I just had a baby. My first baby and my last. So I'm trying to pay that off so that I can get into my own home before my baby turns. Step 2, I recommend you get 3 bank accounts. Now, why in the heck would I need 3 bank accounts? So your first bank account should be a checking account. I would call that checking account your bills account. So all of your bills should be automated, and we'll talk about that in a second. But all of your bills should come out of that checking account. The money should be direct deposited into that account. And then from that account, you should then first pay your bills. The second account should be a savings account because you need to save money. You can save whatever you feel is appropriate for you depending on where you are in your life. Right now, I am not a struggling mom, but I'm rebuilding my finances. And so I only put $50 in my savings account right now. And then your last account for me will be your envelopes, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, you'll say, why can I have all of this in one bank account? I would say because you do not want to use your play money that would be in your second checking account in the same account as your bills. You want to make sure that those bills, the money for your bills is there and that you have no real access to it. So for example, with my bills checking account, though I have a debit card, that debit card is not linked to anything else. Not like Amazon or Walmart or anything like that. It's literally linked to only bills that I pay every month. Step 3, you need some cash envelopes. All right, so this is one of my wallets, and it has, all of my envelopes. So it has an envelope for gas, an envelope for my daughter, her name is Genesis, but I call her KK, an envelope for others, so basically any extra junk that I want, and then an envelope for savings. So here's the purpose of the cash envelope system. But the idea is, and this was profound for me, is that once you set aside money for your bills. So let's just say your bills are $3,000 and you make $3,600. You now need money for things that are variable. They're not set in stone. There's no set amount for them, but you need to set a budget for them, mainly groceries, because People spend a lot of money on groceries and have no idea that they're spending that much. For me, I spend $35 a week on groceries. That's it. That's all. And so every month I get paid. I'm a teacher. So I get out that $140. I get it. I ask for certain denominations, and then I split it up into 4, because there are 4 weeks in a month. And then each week I go and get $35 and put in that grocery envelope. Then when I go to the store, which is usually on a Saturday, I spend exactly that. If I need something that costs more than that, I can't get it. I mean, there's because there's no other money there. So the main envelopes I use are those. The gas. The other is really just if you want to eat out, that extra stuff that you want to do, and you can allocate maybe what's left over in your budget to that. Or I have a certain amount. I set it at $25 a week. And for the most part, it's mainly Starbucks. I don't eat out a lot anymore. The other one that mainly I use is gas. And I set $50 a month for gas. And so because I'm doing a savings challenge, if anything is left at the end of the week, I put that towards that savings challenge. For you, that might go towards debt, or it may go towards a sinking fund that you're working on, or something like that. But the thing that's good about cash envelopes, as Dave Ramsey says, is that money is a lot harder to spend versus a debit card. Have you ever found that when you slide your debit card, you're just sliding, and you'll say at the end of the week, I don't even want to look at my bank account. Excuse me. I don't want to know how much I've spent. Well, you can't really do that with cash, because every time you have to pay with cash, you have to physically pull that money out. And I agree with this idea that psychologically it's somewhat painful if you know you've got $50 and you go to the store and you spend $49.50. You may rethink some of the things that you're purchasing. And in my opinion, I spend way less money with my cash envelopes than I did with a debit card. So I highly recommend the cash envelope system. It has been working wonders for me for years. Prior to having my baby, and since I restarted it in December, I have paid off over $3,000 in debt. I've saved over $600 in 3 months. So, and that may not seem like a lot, but this is not, I don't make a whole lot because I'm a teacher. So every little bit helps. So I'm working towards just getting $1,000 in my emergency fund, and then at that point I want to allocate pretty much everything to my debt. All right, your next step number 4 is to automate your bill. What I mean by that is you have things like auto pay. Another option, which I think is better, is if you have a checking account. Most checking accounts have a bill pay system where you can go in and say, hey, I have this bill and I want to pay this amount every month. All you usually need is your account number for that bill, and then you can put that in and say, I want this to come out on this day. Depending on the bill, it'll come out immediately. If they have to write a check, a physical check, and mail it, which they will do, then it'll be a little slower. However, again, if you're automatically setting a certain amount of money to go in there for your bills, and the only thing linked to it is bills, then that should be fine for you. There should be no overdrafts, because for me, I know for a fact that my bills are $2,456 a month. And so I put in my checking account $2,500. And so that's just kind of to cover any kind of shortfall, any kind of something that, whatever. But I have an overdraft because nothing else is linked to that bill's account. So another alternative, of course, is doing auto pay. So you could set up auto pay so that those bills come out on a set day every month. In addition to that, I recommend that you automate your savings. So it's set up that whenever my check comes into my bank account, $50 automatically shoots to my savings account. And with that, sidebar, you should get a high yield savings account. Now, your savings account should not be like a money market or a CD, because you need to be able to get to it if there's an emergency. So I have an Ally bank account. Right now, at the time of the filming of this video, the APR, the interest rate for that is 3.6. So that's pretty good. If you would like to sign up with Ally, I'll put a link in the description. I don't get any kind of commission from that. So, up to you. Also, what I like about Ally too is that Ally has buckets. So if you don't know what that means, it's like setting up several different savings accounts into one. So I have a bucket for my emergency fund, and I set the goal for $1,000. And then I have a bucket for the down payment for my home, which I set for $5,000. So once one fills, then immediately when more savings comes in, they'll automatically allocate it to the other one. Or you can set it so that, let's say the $50 I'm sending, you can set it so that 25 goes into that bucket and 25 goes into this bucket. So I highly recommend Ally. All right, so, and eventually once you get to investments, you can automate those as well. Step is to give your savings tension and automaticity. What do I mean by that? So my savings account now is with Ally. Well, Ally is a pretty much solely online bank account. I don't know that they have any actual Ally banks anywhere near where I live in Texas. So, and I don't have a card I didn't order a physical card to come with that. What's the purpose of that? I wanted to give attention. So if you ever read the book Atomic Habits, one of the ways that you can set a habit is make it easy. One of the ways to stop a bad habit is to make it harder. So for me, savings was always it was very hard for me to do. And so I've made it harder for me to get money out of my savings account, because I would have to, the only way to really get money out of an Ally bank account is to transfer it into your checking. Of course, you're like, oh, no, that's not a big deal, but it takes 3 to 4 days for it to transfer. Now, for some of you, that's a negative, but for me, that's good, because that gives me 3 to 4 days to really determine if whatever it is I want is that important, that I can wait. And then 3 or 4 days, I still want this particular thing. And most of the time, I don't. So give your savings tension, meaning make it harder for you to get to that money. Another option is to get a savings account that is far away from you. I have a savings account that is for the actual building is 4 hours away from me. So if I wanted to get money out of that account, I could transfer it, which again would take 3 or 4 days, or, I would have to drive 4 hours to get money out of that account. So again, a lot of tension. I don't have that account anymore. I moved to Ally because it had a better, interest rate. But one of those two options would be a great idea. Again, if you're trying to give if you're struggling with saving, you save a little bit and you get it out. You save a little bit and you get out. The other part is making it automatic. So I recommend going to your job and setting it up so that a certain amount of money automatically goes to your savings account. Or you can set it up so that whenever, a lot of banks will do an if this then that kind of thing. So if my bank account gets over a certain amount of money, automatically put this amount into savings. So you could say, oh, if you know your checks are always $3,000, then you could say if my account goes over $3,000, move 50, 500, 600, what have you, into your savings. Here's a bonus tip. I believe I am a lover of all things Jesus. If you are not, then you might want to slide out this video now. But I highly recommend that you allocate 10% of your money to tithes and then a little bit to offering. I believe that once you are giving God 10%, he will bless the other 90%. We are as the word says, we are stewards over the 100%. All of it is God's. But he gives us 90. We're to give him the other 10% back. And I truly attest to this. And the Bible says, test this. Test me, and see, don't I open up the windows of heaven and give you a blessing that you would not have room enough to receive. So I highly recommend, if you're not and you're a believer in Christ, that you begin tithing 10% of your check and then giving an offering, when you go to church or whatever, because I truly believe that will totally help you get smarter with your money. Thanks for stopping in at The Productive Mom. Videos uploaded every Tuesday. Bye. Yeah.